Welcome back to the vendor table.
What's up?
Oh, well, I don't know. Nothing really.
Did you have fun working with me this weekend?
Absolutely. You thought I was going to be sarcastic. I wasn't. No, we always have a good time.
It was a good day.
It was a good day. It was a beautiful day.
I was nice to you.
It was 75 degrees. You were very nice to me. No whining, no complaining of like my allergies are bothering me or anything like that. You were a trooper. You sucked up a 12-hour day, which I was very proud of. I kind of dropped like the ball in telling you that it was a 12-hour day until like 2 days prior. So that's my bad. Sorry about that. But you sucked it up. You did really well. You shot really good. I looked at some of the photos. They look really
I don't
good.
know what I shot at all.
Yeah, I just started going through them.
You ever do that? Like you shoot a
Yes.
whole wedding and you get home and you're like, I have no fucking idea what
100%.
I did at all.
100%. That is like the biggest thing is like you're honestly in overdrive that you don't realize what it took, but you're now established enough and you're good enough to know like, hey, I nailed focus. I know it's good. I just don't know what I got.
I have no clue. And then like I'll get like I said this to my second shooter on Saturday. I was like, I don't know if this wedding's trash or not.
I'm sure it's not trash.
And then I got home, I uploaded the photos and I was like, oh, good. I just have to edit a bunch of cars out.
Yeah, that's always fun. But it's been so easy to edit things out with the new Lightroom update, which is very exciting. They added AI, generative AI.
I think it still needs some tweaking.
It does, but it's so much better.
But that has been fantastic. Because anything that I can do to avoid going into Photoshop, I do.
Yeah. I've been waiting for the day because just having to use Photoshop it's just an extra step. And now if you could do it in Lightroom, you're like, it speeds up the workflow.
I did. I was trying to remove an exit sign with the generative remove tool in Lightroom. And I just put like this cute little flower light there instead. And I sent a picture of it to Meredith and I was like, oh, how cute. Look at this little guy.
Did you send me the thing? I don't know if it was you or Meredith or something like that. They tried removing something from a scene and it literally put a doll, like a baby doll, like a deranged baby doll in the frame. I'm like, how does that happen? Like, how does AI think like remove this and add a deranged baby doll? Which I don't know. Crazy. I posted on Threads, by the way. I don't know if you saw this, but I posted on Threads from the vendor table at the vendor table pod on Threads if you guys are interested. But I posted about how, I actually went on one of those AI programs and typed in
like Midjourney?
Yes. So I typed in bride and groom, sunset, golden hour, overlooking a cliff kind of thing. And it generated 2 AI-based images that were a little wonky, but at the same point... At a quick glance, they looked real. And
are they the ones that you put in the reel that we posted?
Yes.
Oh, so yeah, those looked real.
Yeah.
From the small
perspective. But they were wonky up close. Like the hands were all intertwined.
It's always the hands.
The faces look terrible. But give this shit a couple of years and we're in trouble.
Yeah. I've said this before, but I think AI is coming for the editorial and beauty industry immediately.
Yeah. So we're all laughing now. We're not going to be laughing in a couple of years. It's like the rise of machines, Judgment Day.
That's it. We got to pivot to education.
Terminator 2. Here we go. Pivot to education. Every fucking photographer I see nowadays is like, buy my course and make $10,000 a month. I don't like. Listen, I'm not gonna shit talk those people. Okay, if you're making money on education, great. Okay.
I think.
But I feel like everybody's an educator now.
I just think that it's a good retirement plan.
I don't know if it is. I don't know.
It might be.
It's not consistent. I don't know. I don't know. I can't attest for. I'm not an educator. I never sold an education program, anything like that. I do mentor sessions. I do very minimal. I do 4 a year. This
is something I can't physically do forever. So I don't see a harm in pivoting to education once you feel like your time has come to an end, physically photographing. I just think you need to know your shit.
Yeah, I don't.
You need to know what you're doing and educate people properly.
There's a lot of educators out there that maybe have shot 20 weddings that are now educators that I just don't feel like they brought enough to the table as actual photographers to be considered an educator.
I think the one thing about the photographers who are doing that is that they haven't gone through enough adversity or like changes in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, when you shoot 20 weddings, I mean, we do 20 weddings a year. 1 year, things are not going to change. But over the course of 10 years, things have changed a lot.
Yeah.
So, and you have to learn how to adapt, because adapting is one of the most important things to educate somebody on.
Shit, 5 years ago, like, weddings were so different. 5 years ago. 5. That's not a long time in the scheme of things. Last year, even, there were no content creators. Now there are content creators. Like, the industry changes rapidly. So I think, you know, if you're going to educate, personally, I think you need to get your feet wet a lot more than just shooting 10 to 15 weddings and then saying you're an educator and selling a course or program presets, things like that. I just don't feel that that's genuine. Now, it's not to say, hey, good for you if you're making money on it. Cool, great, awesome. All right. Hopefully you're not scamming people doing it. And if you're going to take an educational course, we mentioned this in the scam episode, but please do your research. Please understand all this stuff. And I always get baffled by the people that are like, you could gain 5,000 followers.
Who cares?
But they have like 700 followers themselves.
Yeah.
Like, why?
I've been...
Why?
There's one that keeps
Come
coming
on.
up. Like it's a paid,
You're a liar. You're a scam artist.
It's a paid Instagram ad that just like keeps coming up from the same guy, and I'm like getting so irritated.
Oh, he's commented on our threads. He's a douche.
It's so annoying because like it's
like, dude, you're running like $200 worth of fucking Instagram ads a month, like, and you like, I have never seen any of his shit ever go viral. I've never seen any of his shit pop up. Ordinary shit, like, to say the least. Maybe he's doing great for education. I don't know, but I like, from what his ads are saying, like,
I don't know if we're talking about the same person. I'm just talking about like what's on my like personal business page.
Yeah,
like,
it pops up on mine too.
It keeps coming up, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna buy your shit.
Yeah, like,
I'm
stop
educated enough. I know what I'm doing.
Like, I'm not your target demographic.
Go away. Go away.
Well, let's get into...
Stop paying for ads because you're making people annoyed. Person.
You know who you are. Okay.
We have listener questions.
We do. So we're back with listener questions. We haven't done one of these in a while. We got a lot of them.
Yeah, we got, I don't know, maybe like 50?
50. We got a lot of them. I feel like we weeded a lot of these out, but we had probably a lot more.
No, these were everyone.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's not a lot.
I think I took out 3 because we've already answered those.
All right.
So, but yeah, this is everything.
Okay. So let's kind of get back in. Let's kind of get into some of these, and we might split it up over 2 episodes just to see how it goes.
There's one on here that I'm scared to answer.
Oh, I'm going to answer that one. I'm looking at it.
You're not going to say names, though.
I'm not going to say
right?
names.
Okay, good.
But if you know me personally, you know who I'm talking about when I mention this.
Okay.
All right. So we just kind of talked about it, but do you use AI to edit your photos?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
We use Imagen as well, just like AI-based editing that you can train a profile to edit in the style that you edit.
Yeah.
A lot of people, we've had some pushback from people who are like, it just takes away the personal aspect of it. And it's like, I don't care.
I'm also still putting my hands on it.
My hands are on it. Yeah. I'm editing full weddings and putting them in there to train the profile.
Yeah.
So I'm not just editing like 6 photos and then being like, train. You have to edit like 3,000 and then to train it, you need to add thousands more.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're putting in the work to do it, and
it's not perfect.
We have to tweak it.
It's not perfect. So yeah, you got to tweak it. You got to, edit a little bit more. Like, I'll tweak things here and there, and then I re-upload it to fine tune it. It's not perfect, but it does help in the scheme of things. It's sped up my workflow tremendously.
It's saving me hours and hours and hours of time. Why wouldn't you?
Used to take 10 to 12 hours to edit a full wedding from start to finish, which would be broken up over like probably around a 3-day work week. Now it's taking me about 3 hours to edit a wedding. So I'm delivering galleries quicker. My client experience is better. Like, my clients are getting their photos back faster with the same results. And why not like add it? And like you do have to pay a price for this stuff. It is like I probably
Costs money.
I probably pay around $100 per wedding, but I factor that into my costs and everything like that. It hasn't raised my rates tremendously in factoring that in, and I'm able to give back more to my clients. So why not? So yeah, why not?
Totes my goes. What do you do when a videographer wants to recreate a moment over and over and over and over again?
Oh my God. Matt's clearing his throat back there. I just stand back. I don't know. Like but I personally, I think that's not genuine. But I understand if they're a wedding filmmaker and they're trying to create like a scene and stuff like that. I come from film. I went to film school, so I understand, having to do multiple takes and stuff like that. I think if you're a wedding videographer or filmmaker, you should probably be limiting yourself to like 2 takes.
Yeah.
Anything over that, I think is
excessive.
You wear out the couple. You really do. You wear out the couple a little bit. I think they just get frustrated, and they're not actors. It's their wedding day. They want to enjoy their wedding day. So I think when you have those staged moments that you're making them do a scene over and over and over again, it just takes away from the authenticity of the day.
I also want to give a helpful tip to photographers. Make sure that you're shooting with 2 different lenses. One that is more like a longer lens, and your main portrait lens, so that you can allow the space to the videographer to also get shots at the same time as you. Walking up and to the client and back and forth can really get in the way of the videographer doing something that they are also trying to film, and you can be better. You can do better.
Yeah.
So this is not just a videographer thing. Like if you're posing the client and there's movement involved, they should be able to get that shot at the same time you are.
Yeah.
But you need to be versatile with your gear. Like if you have a 35 on and you're running up on the client and then running back to get a full body, that's annoying. And they don't want, then they have to recreate those moments because you're going to constantly be getting in their shots. So be versatile and help your videographers out just a little bit. Yeah,
I always incorporate movement into my posing or my prompting to better help if there's a videographer on site, because to be honest with you, I work very quickly, and I want those videographers to be able to capture moments, whereas like a posed stationary shot, they really can't do much. So work better as a team by adding a little bit of motion, a little bit of movement into your shots, and 1, your images are going to be better, but 2, video is not going to have to like pressure you to get that secondary shot, because they're always moving. They can move around you, they can work on the same focal plane as you. Just makes things so much better.
Likewise, videographers, don't shoot with a 24 all day.
Yeah. Oh,
Jesus fucking Christ.
Man. The wide angle up in the client's face, bro.
We got to stop.
Bro, I get it. Stop. I get it. You got to do it once in a while, but like, can we not be on 24 like all day?
Can we work together and figure this out as a team?
With a big ass fucking gimbal.
My God.
Like, I love you guys, but Jesus Christ, you create your own eclipse sometimes.
Photographers, be more versatile. Videographers, stop with the 24s. Lord. Next.
Oh, God. Wedding photos are becoming boring and cookie cutter. That depends on the photographer.
I think, like, what do you mean?
Yeah. I mean, most photographers have what we call safety shots.
Yes.
Based on timeline, based on, schedule of the day, based on, if things run behind schedule. So they might appear more cookie cutter because they're fail safes. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't know, like, from a outsider perspective, like what went into that day, like how that moment was and things like that. It might feel cookie cutter. Not every time we could like bust out like like scrims and diffusers and paint a scene with lighting and all that stuff where it takes 15-20 minutes to create a beautiful piece of art.
I also kind of think that this statement is a little bit of what the problem is in the wedding industry right now.
Okay.
Because couples are now trying to find ways in excess to set themselves apart from other weddings. And that in itself is becoming a problem because a lot of people are focusing more on the stuff than they are on the moments.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with, I don't think there's anything wrong with a simple wedding or a simple wedding photo. I think sometimes we're always trying to make things more interesting. And that's always something that we are going to do as creatives. But not every wedding is going to be like an epic Montauk cliffside wedding. You know, some are in standard catering halls and you just have to do your best.
Do you know what photo gets printed the most out of all the photos like that I've ever taken throughout the years?
Lay it on me.
The standard, what we call the mantle photo. The bride and groom, arm around one another, looking right at camera, smiling. Okay. The standard, I call it the mantle. Some photographers call it the fridge photo. Why is that photo printed the most? Because of the fact of how just organic and natural that is. It is what everybody wants. Likely mom will print that photo, grandparents will print that photo. That will be the photo of the thank you card, like 5 out of 10 times. It's a generic photo. It's a photo I take every wedding, but it's the photo that's printed the most. So yes, it's cookie cutter. Yes, it's not creative in any means, but it's the photo that's probably making me the most money as a photographer from print sales. And I think sometimes you need a little bit of cookie cutter on a wedding day because weddings can get overcomplicated. People could think a little bit too much about the stuff, like you said, versus what is actually why people are there. And it's a union of two people coming together. Yeah. So sometimes organic and cookie cutter, nothing wrong with that.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. So we want to give out a shout out to our sponsor, Maru. Maru is a modern payment experience for the wedding and events industry. Lauren, have you been using Maru a lot lately?
I've been using Maru to pay my contractors.
That's a great
and
way.
Send invoices. It's really easy. It's great to pass off the processing fees. So it saves me a little bit of money, and it's also really easy and straightforward for everybody to pay. Whereas sometimes it can be a bit of a process to use other companies like Venmo or Zelle.
Oh, yeah. Like we hate those processing fees. So
annoying.
Maru does give you the ability to do that and pass off those fees. It's a community, over 9,000 wedding and event professionals, and they're growing every day. They offer seamless transactions and hassle-free payment experience, and they make it possible to focus on what you do best, creating a memorable experience. All right. So with Maru, we talked about it, but you can accept and make payments without processing fees, offer clients a simpler experience, no need to sign up, just pay and go, and keep all your payments neatly organized in one central hub. And like Lauren said, if you have contractors, second shooters that like work underneath you and you need a quick way to pay them and avoid those fees that like, Venmo throws at you, things like that, well, Maru gives you the ability to pay contractors right from the platform. It makes things so easy. You could sign up for free at maru.us/TVT.
Don't know if anybody expected that response from me, but yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you ever cry at a wedding?
All the time.
As wedding vendors, we always cry.
All the time.
You got to be an emotionalist prick to not cry.
God.
Like, sorry, there are so many beautiful moments on a wedding day. So many. For me, I usually cry at like the first look with dad. Every time.
I cry when somebody else cries. So immediately, it doesn't even matter what's happening. If I see somebody else crying, I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm very emotional right now. The mother-son dances get me every time. Mm-hmm. And like the first look that I did on Saturday, mm-hmm. He cried. He cried when he saw her down the aisle. He cried during the first look. And I'm just, anytime a man is crying, I'm crying.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful moment. Don't be afraid to cry, man. Like I've cried.
The manliest thing that you could ever do is cry when you see your spouse.
I sob. I do this. I do a sad face. I'm like I do like the James Vanderbeek.
I ugly cry.
I will say that I think the more emotional a moment, the better. And as a wedding vendor, you're emotionally invested in your couple. Like, it's going to show, and you just genuinely care. I genuinely care about my couples that I'm emotionally invested in your day. I'm going to fucking cry at a moment. Like I've seen, mother-son dances that bring me the tears that I'm like, oh my God, that's emotional. Father-daughter moments that like, the first look bring me the tears. I got emotional. Dad asked me to tie his tie. He didn't know how to tie a tie. Blue collar guy, never tied a tie in his life. He's like, would you mind like tying my tie? I got emotional. I was just like, thank you. Like that's a big honor for me to be able to do that for you on your daughter's wedding day.
I cry over reels of weddings I didn't even shoot.
You're very emotional. I don't do that.
I can't help it.
I do cry at the TikToks like that are like,
when they have like a story or like somebody does like a speech. I saw one the other day. It was like a dad of his son is gay and they're getting married. And the two grooms are listening to the speech. And he was just basically like saying, oh God, it was so beautiful. He was saying that when his son told him he was gay, he thought, how could I change this? And then he said later on, it was him that needed to change and not his son. And that once he met his partner, he knew why. So like, oh my God.
Emotional.
Just, announcing to the world that you didn't have it together and now you finally understand and see it is just like, I can't.
I saw that one.
So beautiful.
It's beautiful.
So beautiful.
Just in a big bowl of, like, big puddle of tears.
Mess.
Yeah. Well, all right. Next one's my favorite. I want to read this one. Can I read this one?
Yeah. Okay.
How do vendors deal with the insane backlash of the complainers on Facebook groups? I didn't mention the name of the Facebook group, but if you guys know me, you know what Facebook group we're talking about. But how do vendors deal with the insane backlash of complainers on Facebook groups from clients?
I ignore it.
Yeah. Ignore the haters. Ignore them.
I ignore it.
If they're not trying to cancel you or wreck your business, we're going to have, if you've been doing this long enough, you're probably going to get a bad review here and there. It's just, you can't please everybody. And I know like it sucks. I've had 2, I think, out of 300 weddings that weren't 100% satisfied. They were like 80% satisfied. Maybe like the lowest I ever had was 60% satisfied or 50% satisfied. And they were upset more about the things that I couldn't control than anything else. So, if you receive, like backlash in these groups, it's best to ignore unless they are trying to physically cancel you as a vendor. Then you have to take legal action or step in. Personally, we've had an issue last year where I was target of cancellation. People tried to cancel me. And it was great. We're talking about this is a year later, so I'm going to bring it up. But a certain group decided to delete every positive review that was ever written about me and keep the one negative that was written about me by a client that wasn't even a client, wasn't even a person that I knew or anything like that. It was somebody
you'd never interacted with before. It
was a shit stirrer, a troll pretty much. So the group that is well known as causing drama, especially in this area, deleted every positive review, and my clients noticed and they were not happy about it. And they defended me like hell or high water. They literally defended me. So it's the other thing. If you're dealing with backlash, if you have good clients in that group, have them go to bat for you, especially if you can't go to bat for yourself in that group. I didn't ask my clients to do it. They did it for me. And I had about, 30 or so of my past clients basically go to bat.
And then what happened?
Oh, and then what happened? Oh, I had to send them a cease and desist. Because,
before that.
Oh, what?
Then those brides started getting banned from the group.
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. And that's why I had to send a cease and desist.
So, it depends on how hard somebody's going after you. I mean, there's an immeasurable amount of vendors on Long Island who have dealt with this problem in their own way. Honestly, the best success we've had was from just ignoring it.
Yeah, I think it bothered those admins of the group that we just didn't care. And I'm talking about it a year later and I still don't care. So fuck off. I was going to say names, but I'm not going to say names. Fuck off. I don't fucking care. Fuck you. Can't wait till they're done.
Anyway,
we're going to talk about the next thing. Nice little rant in there.
My goodness.
Go ahead.
That gave me indigestion.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Next one.
Client complaints after delivery. How do you address the complaints? It depends what the complaint is.
Yeah. Like, what's the complaint? Is it, you didn't do a good job? Were they, are they complaining about body dysmorphia? Are they happy with their photos, but maybe not like something in particular?
I think the important thing is to not immediately brush off their concerns. To acknowledge that you may understand that they're upset with something and to communicate what exactly it is that they're upset with. Because if it's something that was beyond your control, you can easily address that and say, the weather was this. I can't control the weather, but in a nicer way, obviously. If it's something with regard to your editing style, you've made clear that you edit this way and that's why they booked you. Hopefully. But if it's, if it seems aggressive or if the person is coming after you really hard, a phone call.
Yeah, a phone call could always help, figure out their concerns. And it also, some people sound a little bit more aggressive via email than they or text message than they do on the phone. So maybe like it could be a misinterpretation or something like that. Like I had a client, they just weren't in love with their body on their day, and
which is devastating.
Which is I feel for you. And she came across a little hot on the email, but it was really just about her appearance. And I said, I was just like, how can I help like solve this? Like, and she's like, and so what I did was, I did liquefy at her request, and she was very satisfied with that. Grant, I didn't think she needed it. I don't think anybody deserves that, especially on your wedding day.
I think we all have like a moral
I don't touch
qualm with doing that, but
I don't touch people's bodies or shape people's bodies unless they request it. I will remove a pimple, I will remove a blemish, things like that, but I won't remove, like, say there's a scar on somebody's
scars,
head, like things like that. I will not touch those.
Anything permanent.
So I will remove a blemish, like things like that. I won't touch wrinkles. Like, wrinkles are a part of people's bodies. They might love them. So, but if somebody requests, something with like a body dysmorphia issue or something like that, I will acknowledge it. And, while I don't think they need it, I will do it if asked. Yeah.
I think that it's hard for us to answer this question without some
context.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of different ways that you can address every different concern from a client. But clients are allowed to complain.
Yeah.
They are allowed to not be satisfied, especially if, like, let's say, for example, you fucked up. Yeah. Like, maybe they didn't have a good experience with you and you have to learn the best way to turn it around. Yeah. To give them a better experience in the post. So there's too much context missing from this question to be able to give an accurate answer, but those are just some little tips.
Yeah. I think that's I think we just need a little more context on that question. All right.
You do that one.
How'd you know it was time to raise your prices?
Mike yelled at me.
Supply and demand. I yelled at her, but in all reality...
Actually, two people yelled at me. Yeah. One was Caitlin Mahar Daniels, who basically screamed in my face when I told her what my prices were. This is years ago. And Mike Casera telling me that I needed to raise my prices again.
Yeah. So, but how do you know when it's time to raise your prices? It really comes down to supply and demand. Yep. If you're getting an overwhelming amount of inquiries versus bookings and people are inquiring and they want your service, supply and demand. You can't supply, you can't meet the demand with your supply. So you have to obviously raise your rates to accommodate. So if you are in heavy demand and you feel like, you're getting 30, 40, 50, 60 plus inquiries a month and you're booking 5 to 10 a month and things like that, it's time to raise your rates. But maybe if you're priced a little too high and you're not getting that those inquiries, then maybe I am priced a little too high. But if your success rate is good, like I raise my rates every year consistently. I won't raise them next year just because I think I'm at a point where it's also peak inflation and things like that, and I understand. But you get to a point where if you raise your rates and the demand is still consistent throughout that time frame, you're meeting the market needs. So I think when it comes down to it, it really is just supply and demand. It's time to raise your rates if you are getting a overwhelming amount of inquiries.
Yeah, it's that. And your rates are too low if you're busting your ass working all the time and you still don't have any money.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, say you have packages, like if you're a wedding vendor and you have package A, B, and C, and people are booking the highest package all the time, that, okay, your packages aren't priced accordingly, because what they should really be booking is the middle package. That should be the value package that everybody books. There should be some outliers that book the high and the low, but if your goal is to raise your rates every year and have better supply and demand, then you really want people to not book that high package that often, because that's probably the most work. It's probably giving the most items. You really want people to book that middle package. So that's another way to tell is if you're priced accordingly, is package rate A, B, and C. People should be booking package B, that middle tier, more than anything else. Right?
Sure. I only have 2, so.
Yeah, I know, because I made you restructure
There is
everything.
no middle.
I made her restructure everything. We'll do one more, and then we'll wrap this up.
Should vendors sit with guests? No.
No. No vendor wants to sit with a guest. Sorry, and couples, we love you, but we'll sit in a fucking closet in the back. We don't care.
No, I don't want to sit in a closet either.
I don't mind
Just
sitting.
put me at a table in a different room and we are good.
Give me a quiet space.
We do not need to sit with your guests and make awkward small talk.
No. If usually in this area, vendors will go sit in where the cocktail hour room was hosted and stuff
we'll
like
go
that.
sit by the bar.
And out of sight, out of the way. People
A quiet, dark corner of the room.
Yeah, I know it's different in other parts of the country, but usually we need a little time to decompress. We really only take a 10-minute break, and that 10 minutes is very valuable for us to get our mental sanity after a 10-hour day, especially if it's summer and it's hot and we're exhausted. So should you seat vendors with guests? No.
If you put us at a table designated for vendors in the room with your guests, that's fine.
Yeah.
But at a table with your guests, God, your guests are going to feel so weird.
Yeah.
They're going to feel so weird sitting with the help.
Yeah. and yeah, I would say don't seat them.
I have been, the only time that I've been seated at a table with guests was at a wedding I shot where it was my brother's best friend. So I knew them.
Yeah.
But
I've had that happen too.
Yeah. If you know them, that's fine. But
yeah.
You don't want your guests sitting with the peasants.
No. No, that are exhausted, sweaty and gross. Yeah. So I would just say
need to reapply their deodorant every 45 seconds.
I would say no, just a separate room, separate table is fine. Honestly, if we have a quiet space, it's fine. I've sat in supply closets with a small little table
at Born.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
We'll cut that one out.
You can beep it.
But I've actually sat at a very nice table with a very nice spread in a supply closet, and I've never felt more welcoming. And no joke, it was just, I don't know what it was. They had a card table. It was in Connecticut. They had a card table with a tablecloth and utensils, and they gave us courses. And
I love when I get courses.
But it was in a supply closet with chairs and everything else around. But I felt so welcomed. It was just very nice, and it was a nice little break. We took a 10-minute break to eat our meal, and it was very nice. So I just think feeding vendors. But if you're feeding a vendor, which most vendors have in their contract, if they're there throughout the reception, they have a meal in their contract and stuff like that. I think just being fed as a vendor is just a nice gesture.
I just think it's so funny that the place that I just accidentally mentioned, which we will bleep out, it's just so funny that it's this big, opulent, beautiful mansion, and then we're eating in a supply closet.
You don't eat there anymore. I've shot like 4 weddings there.
Good.
You sit in the cocktail hour
I was just like sitting in a dark room. They didn't even turn the lights on.
A few years ago, they used to do that. No, you don't have to do that anymore. They sit in the cocktail hour room. They feed us in the cocktail hour room. They're
eating in the dark on a stack of tables.
They've been great. They've been great the last, like, I'd say 4 years or so.
Okay, good.
It wasn't that way back in the day, but no. We'll wrap this one up. 35 minutes goes fast. Man, we're gonna have to do a
part 2.
Yeah, well, it's like
part 7,
part 4, or maybe 5. I think it's 4. But we'll be back next week with some more listener questions. We have a bunch more that we haven't even touched on, which is crazy. So wrap this one up. Lauren, where can they find you?
You can find me at LaurenO'BrienPhoto.com and Lauren O'Brien Photo and the Feral Photog on Instagram. Michael, where can they find you?
At Michael Sarah Photo on Instagram, TikTok, as well as my website. And you can find us at the Vendor Table Pod on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as our Facebook group. That's the first time I messed that up.
You said the Facebook group. You usually let me do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
We fucked this whole ending up.
I dropped the ball. I'm just, my caffeine hasn't hit me yet. Well, it's been fun. We'll catch you next time.
Okay, bye.